Hey guys, it's Libby, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about a topic that I haven't talked about in a little while, which is eating disorders. More specifically, the stereotypes and misconceptions that go along with them. There is so much misinformation in the world and just a lack of information about eating disorders, and that can be super harmful to the people that have them, because who wants to be misunderstood? Nobody. So I'm making this video to help clear things up a bit for anyone watching. This video is great if you're just curious about mental disorders. Maybe you're a psychologist, I don't know. Maybe you want to be, maybe you just like psychology, I don't know. This video can be good for somebody who knows somebody with an eating disorder, like maybe a family member or a friend, and they just want to understand it better. They want to know what not to say and what to say maybe. Good for you as well, and it's also good for anyone with an eating disorder who just wants to feel less alone. I know that everyone with an eating disorder somewhere along the line of their life has heard something about eating disorders said by someone uneducated that just makes them cringe, you know, and I want you to feel not alone, because there are so many misconceptions out there. You're gonna come across them, and I want everybody to know what they are so that we don't make the mistake in saying them, thinking them, etc, etc, etc. So let's lift the veil of mystery over eating disorders and talk about it. I am qualified to speak on this topic because I have dealt with eating disorders for many years. If you're interested in knowing more about my experience, I will link an eating disorder video or two of mine, like I've talked about my story and all that. I will link those kinds of videos below if you're interested, but yeah, so I'm qualified to speak on this topic. Many of these things I came up with, but not everything. I also asked my followers on Instagram and Twitter that if any of them had eating disorders to throw their misconceptions at me. And so thank you to everyone who made this video possible. I am leaving my followers anonymous because some of them requested anonymity and some of them I don't know, and so privacy is just the best answer. However, if you are someone who contributed something and you want to claim it down below in the comments, feel free to say, hey, I said that or something, or yeah. So anyways, introduction complete, let's get into the misconceptions. Oh, one more thing that I forgot to mention is that any two eating disorders are not the same. Everybody experiences it a little bit differently, so these misconceptions that I'm saying to you may not apply to everybody, but they are general misconceptions. So I just want to say that no one's the same. Don't make assumptions. I don't know. Let's go. So me being a type A personality, I categorized all of my misconceptions, and category number one is called duh. And that's because these are things that I think that everybody should know, but it seems to not be that way. So duh is a very important category. Please remember these things. Please just stick them into your brain like that, okay? The first thing I'm gonna say, one of the most important things I'm gonna say, the thing that the most people asked me to include in this video is that you can be any weight and have an eating disorder. You don't have to be 40 pounds to be anorexic. You don't have to be overweight to have binge eating disorder or bulimia. Those stereotypes are extremely harmful, because then if somebody comes out saying that they have anorexia and the response is, you don't look anorexic, you're not that thin. Oh my gosh, what do you think that does to the mind of the person you just said that to? Wow, don't say that. Why? Because you can be any weight to have an eating disorder. I cannot put enough emphasis on that. Like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. That is, see, that's like duh, right? But it's not. So many people think you gotta be or look a certain way to have an eating disorder. False. Related to that, many people think that you need to look like a skeleton in order to get help. Also, false. You don't need to be almost dead in order to get help. A person can be at any weight and be ready for help with their eating disorder. You don't need to have a certain BMI. You don't need to look a certain way, be at a certain weight in order to need help. You need help now, okay? That's really important. And then the last thing I want to say related to weight kind of is just that just because somebody is thin doesn't mean they have an eating disorder, believe it or not. Like, comments like, you look anorexic, like, that's dumb. That is so dumb, okay? You can't look anorexic. You can look thin, you can look unhealthy, but you can't look anorexic. Anorexia is a mental illness, You can't see that. So just because somebody is thin doesn't mean they have an eating disorder. There could be a bajillion reasons why they're thin, and it could be not an eating disorder. So now a pretty big misconception about recovery. Telling someone to just eat or just stop throwing up, that ain't gonna work, okay? That person, they know, like deep down in their brain, even if they're very sick in their disorder, they know that's how you fix it. But like, just telling them that, it's not gonna work, okay? Another fun misconception out there is that it's a phase. Nope. It's not a phase. I'm just gonna leave it there. It's not a phase. It's a mental disorder, okay? Another one is that it's for attention. All right, well, if you think about it, most people with eating disorders actually try to hide their behavior. They don't leave the bathroom door open when they're vomiting. They don't sit in front of you with all their food that they're about to binge and eat it right in front of you. They don't like throw their food away right in front of you unless they're bold, you know? So most people with eating disorders try to hide their behaviors. It's not for attention. How could it be for attention if they're hiding it? It's not, believe it or not, it's not about you. It's about them, okay? It's about whatever's going on inside their head. Moving on, today's media romanticizing eating disorders. Not a good thing. Eating disorders are not romantic. They are not fun or cute or cool or special. They're mental disorders. And kind of related to that point, TV shows and movies about them don't do them justice. Typically, they romanticize them. It's kind of like, oh, a damsel in distress. She hates her body. She hates herself. But someone's gonna come along and save her. Like, not good. If you're trying to learn about eating disorders, TV shows and movies aren't the place to do it. If you want to gain that knowledge through media, watch a documentary, okay? Like a real life documentary. That's as real as it gets, right? Another great misconception out there is that eating disorders only affect pretty white, straight, middle-class teenage girls. And well, that's just not the case. This is another one where I feel like it's just like, duh. But like, so many people believe that's true. And it's just not. Eating disorders can affect anyone, any age, any gender, any sexual orientation, any race, any this, any that. While I will say that there are two mental illnesses that can be found everywhere in the world, those being depression and schizophrenia, eating disorders aren't that way. However, it's not just middle-class white teenage girls, all right? The next thing I want to say is that it's not a diet. Again, it's a disorder. It's not a diet. It's not a healthy way to go about losing weight. And the last thing that I want to say is that just because you are on a diet, don't be like, I'm anorexic, or like, I tried being anorexic. Like, Meghan Trainor, I saw something where she said, I tried to be anorexic for a day, but it was just too hard, or like something like that. And wow, how ignorant, how ignorant. That's why I don't like Meghan Trainor. But eating disorders, you're not just on a diet. You can't just try it out. You know, it's a combination of your thoughts and your actions that you didn't choose. It's not something you choose, okay? However, that is the conclusion of my duh category, and now we are moving on to my general category. And the first point I made was that it's not a choice to have it, which I just said. But again, it's not a choice to have it. Who would choose this? The next thing I want to say is that people with eating disorders are not in control. And while an eating disorder is typically all about control, it's about having control of your calories, what you eat, your body, what goes in and out of your body, your emotions, and so on. While it's all about control, contrary to popular belief, it's not just about losing weight and getting thin. While it's about control, they're not in control, and that goes into it not being a choice. Like, while in the moment I felt very in control of my actions, I wasn't. I was sick. While sometimes eating disorders begin because a person wants to lose weight and maybe it just gets out of control, that's not always how it begins. Sometimes they begin because of self-hatred, guilt, worthlessness, depression. There's a lot of reasons why it can begin. And again, that kind of all just connects to it about being in control. It can be about punishing yourself. It can be about like trying to make it up to yourself about something that you feel guilty over, whatever. I also just want to stop right here and say that while I'm giving you a few examples like hatred, guilt, stuff like that, that by no means covers everyone's situations. Like I said at the beginning, no two people are the same. So I'm just kind of giving you guys some examples, not necessarily the case for everyone. Moving on though, like I said earlier, people of any weight can have an eating disorder. And if somebody starts out overweight or is overweight and has an eating disorder, therefore has the potential to or does lose some weight, sometimes people consider it a good thing that they've got the disorder because, hey, they're losing weight. And no. I don't even know how to explain how messed up that is. Like, no. The next thing I want to say about eating disorders in general is that they are so complicated. People can have good days where maybe they eat in front of people or they eat a piece of cake or they don't throw up that day or whatever. There can be good days. There can also be super bad days. They're so complicated, hard to understand. And just because somebody has a good day doesn't mean they're all better now or that they're on the road to recovery. No. They're way more complex than that. So I personally believe that people who have experienced eating disorders for themselves are the only ones who can truly understand it. If you've had a friend or a family member go through it, you've got a better understanding than other people, but you don't fully understand it. You probably never will, and that could potentially be for the better. Not necessarily, but maybe. Psychologists don't always understand. Man, I had some bad psychologists when it came to eating disorders. I had a couple, and like, they just didn't get it, you know, like, I mean, they've done their research, they went to school, they've had other clients, patients, whatever, with eating disorders, but will they ever truly get it? No. And just to like make a comparison, not saying these things are equal or similar really on any playing field besides the fact of lack of understanding of outsiders, like if I, a white woman, were to study African American studies for 20 years, would I ever truly understand the experience of a black person here in America or whatever? No, I wouldn't. I'm white. I will never get it. As much as I try, as much as I learn, as much as I talk to people, whatever, I'll never get it. It's a similar thing with eating disorders. Again, I'm not trying to make like a strange comparison or like an equal comparison or anything like that, but obviously they're two totally different things. Anyways, it's the same thing in that outsiders will never truly get the experience of it, which is a good thing. Again, it's not a good thing to experience, but yeah, that's my metaphor. That could be dangerous. But moving on to the next topic, a more specified topic, I will now be talking about anorexia nervosa. So, like I said earlier, it's not a diet. And related to that, you can't choose day by day whether you want to have it, whether you want to eat, like that goes into earlier how I said it's not a choice. It's not a choice. One of my favorite types of eating disorder misconceptions are an anorexic's relationship with food. And the first one I will talk about is that all anorexics hate all food. False. I can tell you that from personal experience, because even when my anorexia was at its worst, my gosh, pasta still tasted really good. I still really loved chocolate covered strawberries, okay? So we don't hate all food, but does that mean that we're not gonna feel guilty when we eat those foods that we think taste good? No, we're still gonna hate ourselves if we eat the pasta, all right? But like, we can hate what food does to us in that like it gives us calories and makes us fat and stuff, but like still tastes pretty damn good. Like, you can't deny it. That doesn't change. Your taste buds don't go away when you have an eating disorder, okay? We like food still, we just don't want to eat it. The next thing is that we don't ever eat. And if we do eat, it is a salad or a Slim Fast shake, to quote one of my followers who said that. I thought that was funny. Yeah, no, incorrect, falso. We do eat. You know, if someone isn't eating at all, that's when they get the tube, you know, like down their throat, in their nose, up their arm, whatever. We do eat, or we would be dead, like literally dead. You can only go how many days without food? Isn't it like, it's kind of a long time. But, you know, like, we'd be dropping down like flies if that were the case, okay? We eat, and we eat more than like celery and like watermelon, okay? Like... Wow, I think that one's so crazy. Like, you really think we don't eat at all? And like I said, we still like food. So like sometimes we'll still eat the food that isn't considered anorexic food or whatever. Like, we still eat, okay? We would be dead, okay? I wouldn't be making this video. I would have died by now. So now we are moving on to Bulimia Nervosa, which is the one where you throw up, if you were to wear. And I say the one where you throw up because that's like the stereotypical bulimia, you know, you like eat dinner and then you go to the bathroom and throw it up. While that is very, very, very common in bulimia, that's not the only way that it happens. There are things called laxatives that make things come out, you know, like abusing laxatives. Another misconception about bulimia is that you're bulimic because you don't have enough self-control to be anorexic. And that's just disgusting. That is not true. That's fucked up. Don't say that. The next thing I want to say about bulimia is just because you throw up one time or 2 times, that doesn't mean you're bulimic. If you're also partaking in anorexic type behaviors and you throw up very occasionally, very not frequently, that is known as something called purging anorexia. So just like a little bit of knowledge out there for you guys. But you know, if you throw up and you want to say you're bulimic, fine, I don't care, you're bulimic. But just like according to like the DSM. I don't have a ton of experience with bulimia, so I'm gonna move on from that to binge eating disorder. I also don't have a ton of experience with this, but I do have some things to say. First off, I want to talk about a binge, like the noun, a binge. Technically, to be considered a binge, it needs to be a large amount of food. I want to say though that if you're dealing with an eating disorder and there's a lot of guilt around food for you and you eat something that, oh, you wish you hadn't ate, like maybe it's just 5 cookies. Is that a large amount of food? Not really. But if you just ate 5 cookies and you're like anorexic or something, that's a binge to you, okay? Like, you're allowed to call that a binge, and while no, it's not binge eating disorder necessarily, it's a binge for you. So your feelings are valid in feeling like it's a binge just because the DSM doesn't say it's a binge, okay? But moving back to binge eating disorder, no, it is not just eating your feelings. No, it is not just eating because you're bored. No, it is not just somebody feeling guilty about what they ate or feeling guilty about their weight and trying to excuse it. It is a real illness. It is a real mental disorder. Say it with me. It's real, okay? It's not something that you've got control over. Just like the other eating disorders, you don't have control over it. You're never in control with an eating disorder, okay? It's not a choice. Just to reiterate those important points. And then another thing about binge eating disorder, you can't go on a diet to fix it. You can't just stop it. You can't purge to fix it. You can't exercise to fix it. It's a mental disorder, okay? It's not just a simple fix, just like the others. You can't just eat. You can't just stop throwing up. You can't just stop binging, okay? It's a disorder. Now I want to move on to OSFED, which is an acronym for Other Specified Feeding or Eating Disorders, formerly known as EDNOS, Eating Disorders Not Otherwise Specified. It's sort of like an umbrella term for all of the other eating disorders out there. I'm just gonna like throw some of them out at you and tell you what they are, just so you know. So the first one is atypical anorexia, and that is where you're anorexic, but your weight doesn't match what the DSM counts as anorexic. Okay, and I think that that's disgusting. The DSM is a diagnostic book for mental disorders. So why is your weight even considered in that? Because we all know you can be anorexic at any weight, right? We all know that now. So why does the DSM care what your weight is? I think that it's still just anorexia. Typical anorexia, not atypical, okay? I feel like by making it a separate diagnosis for people who don't fit the weight criteria, it's kind of like saying, you're not there yet, or like, you're not good enough yet, you're not a good enough anorexic yet, keep trying, you're atypical. You'll be typical once you're 40 pounds or whatever, you know? Like, I think that that's a little dumb. It's all anorexia to me, okay? The next one though is atypical bulimia, which is where you're bulimic, but you don't purge often enough to their criteria. And again, just because you're not purging frequently enough, like if you're still purging frequently enough to count as atypical bulimia, why aren't you just bulimia? I just feel like adding atypical just invalidates that person's feelings, experiences, trauma. There is also purging anorexia, like I mentioned earlier, where you purge after small amounts or not very frequently. There's a thing called chewing and spitting, where you chew your food and then spit it out. You don't swallow it. That's a disorder under OSFED. There is Pica. I'm not sure if that stands for something or if it's just Pica. I didn't look into it. Oops. That's where you eat things that aren't nutritional, like it's not food. There is night eating syndrome, where you eat at night, believe it or not, like excessive amounts at night. There is orthorexia, where you compulsively only eat very healthy foods, like you won't eat unhealthy things. That's a disorder. A lot of people think that OSFED disorders don't count because they aren't anorexia or bulimia or binge eating disorder. And some people don't even think binge eating disorder counts. Bullshit. That counts, okay? All of these things are real mental disorders. Don't ever invalidate somebody's experience or mental disorder, mental struggles. Don't do that. Don't invalidate people. That's mean. So, yeah, that's the conclusion of all of the disorders I'm gonna talk about. There's probably more, but those are the ones that I could think of. Oh, there's another one where if you're diabetic, I don't know the name of it, but it's like if you're diabetic, you like withhold your insulin or something like that, or use too much, I don't know, to control your diet. So that's a thing. I forget the name of it. Oops. But that's the thing too. That's an eating disorder. But now I want to talk about some of the things that you don't know about, that you don't hear about when you're in your psychology class, Psych 101, or if you're just on Wikipedia or whatever. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about those things, which are like the effects on your body of these eating disorders. And obviously different eating disorders will have different effects on your body, but I'm just gonna throw out a bunch of them and let you digest that. That's kind of funny, digest. We're talking about eating disorders. The first thing is your bones. If you're not getting a proper diet, you're not nourishing your bones to grow as strong as they should if you're in a developmental part of your life, and you are more likely to get osteoporosis later in life. Woohoo! The next thing is dizziness. Obviously, if you're not eating correctly or otherwise messing with your body chemistry, yeah, you're gonna be dizzy. Also fatigue and the inability to fall asleep. Sometimes you black out or pass out. Your digestion, that's gonna get messed up. Whether you're restricting your food, whether you're purging, whether you're using laxatives, whatever, you're gonna mess up your digestion, and that doesn't get fixed just like that. It's gonna be messed up for quite a while, all right? Constipation to go along with that, that's fun. Urine, you know, when I was in my outpatient anorexia treatment, they tested my urine every week, so clearly something happens there. I don't know what. But they did that. Your muscles waste away. And first you think of like the muscles in like your arms and legs and stuff, those wasting away, right? But then your heart, that's a muscle. You're gonna waste your heart away. Isn't that scary? Yeah. And as your body wastes away, as you don't get enough food and don't like create enough energy in your body, you're gonna be cold all the time. You know, I was always cold in school, and our building was kind of cold, but my friends were never as cold as me, and it was just kind of like a quirky thing, right? But I knew it's because I wasn't eating. So that's the thing, being cold isn't fun, ever, but then that coldness taken to a far enough extreme, your body will start developing lanugo. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Lanugo, is that right? Whatever. It's like where you grow extra hair everywhere because your body's cold, so it grows hair to keep your warmth in. It's not a cute look, okay? The next thing is your blood chemistry. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're messing around with purging, with diuretics, laxatives, your diet, your insulin, whatever, you're messing with your blood chemistry, your body chemistry, you're messing that up, okay? And I think we all know about the dangers of bulimia as far as throwing up goes, because, you know, throwing up is dangerous. Stomach acid, not good for all this part of your like mouth and throat, not good. Your teeth, not good. Your knuckles, your hands, your fingernails, if that's your method, not pretty anymore. The last thing I'm gonna say about the effects on a body is that once you become weight restored, it doesn't all just magically just disappear. You don't just get better and turn into what you were before your disorder. It's a long process of healing and recovering your body. Some of those issues stick around for a while, but obviously the longer you have your disorder and the worse you make those issues, the longer it's gonna take to solve them. So now I'm just on to the conclusion of this video. I know it's been a long video, packed full of information and fun facts and misconceptions, but it is time for it to end, unfortunately. I'm just gonna say a few last important points. One thing is that forcing someone to eat won't make them better. And obviously if they're not eating at all and it's dangerous, yes, force them to eat so they don't die. But it's not gonna help them here at all. Or emotionally, not gonna help them. The disorder, not gonna go away. The next thing is that telling somebody like, oh, you don't need to do those things. You know, if you eat healthy and you exercise, you'll feel fine, you'll feel great. No, that's not how it works. It's not that simple. If it was that simple, we would do it, okay? Like I think I mentioned earlier, weight restored doesn't mean recovered. Eating more doesn't mean recovered. There's a lot that goes into it mentally. It's not just about gaining weight back that you may have lost, okay? It's hard. Recovery is hard, okay? It's not simple. You can't just eat, you can't just stop throwing up, you can't just stop binging. It's hard, okay? I just want to reiterate a few points I made at the beginning of the video. Number 1 being, it's not a choice. Number 2 being, they're not in control. Number 3 being, it can affect anyone, okay? And number 4 being, it's a mental disorder. And then I also just want to add on that telling somebody anything about their appearance probably isn't gonna help, okay? Saying like if they're in recovery and you're like, you look so healthy, that may make them feel better, but chances are it won't. Telling someone, you don't look anorexic, not gonna help. So like, please just like think about the things you say before you say them. Just like think like, how is this person gonna take this thing I'm about to say? Should I say it? No, yes, think about it, okay? Just think, be careful. Be careful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something. If you are someone with an eating disorder and you thought of a misconception that I didn't mention, feel free to leave it down below. If you resonate with anything, feel free to leave that down below. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave that down below. Leave whatever you want below. It's free speech, man. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. Yeah. Also, if you're looking for an eating disorder recovery YouTube channel, Henrie, check him out. I'll leave him down below. He is so nice. He's so genuine and nice. I really like his channel, so check him out if you want to. Send love. And the last thing I want to leave you with is that if you're struggling with something or you know somebody who is, I just wish you lots of love and strength in getting through this or helping them to get through this. And yeah. So I hope we all left more educated people today.